right, you gotta go left, Dad.
My left or your left?
They're the same left. Just go. Oh,
What happened?
we just lost.
What do you mean we lost?
We just lost.
Look, screw this game, you know what I'm saying? It's complicated for no reason, you know what I'm saying? It's not like back in the day, you know what I'm saying? We had asteroids, Miss Pac-Man, Tetris, things like that. Put this here, go this way, you know, beat this boy. Nice and simple, easy.
You are so old. Look, games are way different now, all right?
Yeah.
You know, it's not about just getting the high score anymore. There's like story to it and graphics and all this other stuff.
All right, whatever.
Look, let me tell you what you missed since Galactica. How about that? Yeah.
Wow.
Hey guys, welcome back to Nerd Cypher, the show where we talk about all things, you know, nerdy in terms of a bunch of different topics.
Comics, TV shows, movies, and things like that, right?
And today we're going to be talking about video games, and we have back some of our guests. We got Robert over here.
AKA floppy disk in the house.
And
What's up, y'all?
we got Jason over here.
Big J, cocoa butter.
Yeah,
Yeah, we about to get into it.
Alrighty.
So we're gonna be talking about games, going back from arcade games to the home video games, you know what I'm saying, the old school, new school, the whole gamut. So we're gonna start off. I don't know, this is a wide question, like what's your favorite game? So I don't know, you know, if you're gonna talk about arcade games or you could break it down into, you know, however you wanna break it down. What's some of your favorite games off the top?
I guess maybe early. Just
Early
to start
games?
off,
games
yeah.
that I played.
Yeah, so that'd be
It
arcade.
definitely started off with my Atari days. Maybe a little bit before with like a Commodore 64. I remember I had Commodore 64. I used to play this Bruce Lee game on there, but the Nintendo games to me were the best. I played the Mario Brothers, you know, those games were,
Donkey Kong.
you could play those for hours. Donkey Kong, those were probably my favorite games to play.
I remember, because, you know, Verdell is his sister, and when I used to date Verdell, I used to come over, and he used to grab me to play the game. I used to play the Donkey Kongs and stuff with him back in the day, you know,
Yes.
bonded with little Rob.
He never said no.
Nah, I never said no. So I was in there.
All right.
Yeah.
What about you, Uncle Jason?
Early games.
Wow. Ping pong, what was that
It
called?
was Atari.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Atari.
that we had at
yeah.
the house.
What else? Most of it was arcade games. Like was Asteroids. Asteroids was a big favorite. Defender, Centipede.
Right. What about you?
For me, actually, I think Uncle Rob. I think you really got me into video games. First
Yeah,
off, was
probably.
when you had I remember
Going into his room?
Yeah, I remember going into your room watching you play Resident Evil.
Oh yeah.
That was it. Yeah, that was a good
Yeah.
time. You know, when you had that PlayStation. And I just remember watching you play that. And then you guys got me a PlayStation, like the OG PlayStation 1. And I would used to play games like Spyro, Crash Bandicoot. Yeah, and so like a lot of like platformers and stuff like that. So that was like a lot of my early sort of like gaming memory, and I used to love those things, man.
For me, I mean, even before I think it was before the arcades. Like you said, we got the Atari with the paddles that you play, you know, back and forth with the ball. You know, and they had the ball that goes, you know, and you had to shoot it with the little gun. You could cheat by putting your hand over it and
yes.
shooting it.
Yes,
shoot
I
that,
remember the gun.
Yeah. And had the little dial. I think it was the dial things.
Yes.
Yeah.
To move it back and forth, the paddles up and down. And you got the doubles. You could play doubles. That was our original first one. But I must say though, Mom, you know, she had us on like handheld stuff early. Remember that boxing game we had? It was a digital
Rock'em
box.
Sock-
No, not
No,
the
no.
Rock'em Sock'em. It was a digital game. You play. One person played over here.
Oh,
One person played over
yeah,
there. And
yeah,
it was
yeah.
little
What was that
visual
called?
things. I don't even know what it's called. We got to find that. But yeah,
wow.
that was some of our
Forgot about
early.
that.
But my favorite obviously was the arcade games like Asteroid and Miss Pac-Man and stuff like that.
That's interesting with arcade games. It's like, I mean, I remember playing arcade games, but I think I played some of the more of the newer ones. Like, well, not maybe. I mean, they're not new at this point, but like we used to, like when I used to go to Dave & Buster's or this place called Sports Plus.
Sports
You
Plus.
remember? Yeah.
Plus,
Oh man, that was the joint.
yeah.
It was this kind of like this all-intensive, like all-encompassing like sports place where you could like bowl, ice skate. And they had like what's it called, like ball pits and stuff like that. But they had like a lot of arcade things, sort of like Street Fighter, House of the Dead, The Simpsons arcade game, and I used to play those like all the time with like in terms of like arcade stuff.
Well, as far as arcade game, like I said, I mean, arcade was kind of the beginning for a lot of us, if not all of us. Well, how did what was your arcade journey like? What was you doing in the arcades? I know you was heavy.
Oh yeah, so when I was little, to make a long story short, my dad had a big, huge bag full of quarters that he would be saving to go play cards with his friends on the weekends and stuff. And, you know, I needed quarters.
Right.
I had games to play. So I would meet my friends. I'd have a pocket full of quarters that I took out of his container.
Yeah.
And I would go to
Scandalous.
the Four Stores was the name of the store. And they had arcade games in there. We would wake up early before school. Me, Sean, and Lewis, my buddies, we'd go there and we would play arcade games until we had to go to school in the morning because we walked to school.
Oh, wow.
So we would play arcade games in the morning. It was like a ritual every morning. If I ran out of quarters, we didn't play no more games.
That was it.
And the quarters ran out when he found out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was showdown.
Wow.
What about
Oh,
you,
yeah.
Big J?
Arcades.
At what we Sunrise
Mall.
Yeah.
We used to, like, it was a gang of us. We used to go there.
Go there
and
Saturdays. Yeah.
You had to be good because one quarter would have to last at least 20 minutes.
Yeah, you was off the game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
you had to-
when you messed up, you were done.
But people don't understand it was serious.
Oh, it was serious.
You know,
It
this
was
is like you
not.
only have, this is money. This is not like you could just reset the game and play
No,
again. No.
nah.
You put a quarter in there.
When
It's
you
just
done,
this
you
is-
done.
Don't touch
done.
me.
Yeah, you're
Don't
done,
touch
son.
me. Don't interfere with me. I'm playing the game. You know, it's like serious business.
Which is funny because it's like those games are designed to take quarters from
Right,
you.
right.
So they were unnecessarily hard just so
Yes.
that they can steal quarters from you.
Super hard.
You know what? I'm gonna go back. Even thinking about it, I'm gonna go back even before arcades. I think our first thing with quarter. Remember, pinball machines would be in different places.
Oh,
Yes.
pinball machine.
Yeah, and we would play the pinball
Yeah.
machines like at a laundromat or at somewhere. Dad go play his
Yes.
numbers, and we go to the
Yeah.
store next door and play the
Stationary
pinball
store.
machines.
Yeah.
that was the first like arcade games for us. If you think about
I
it.
hated it.
Pinball machines were
I hated it.
hard,
Yeah,
man.
yo, my
you think
God.
you got it and the ball just goes right down the
yeah,
middle.
right
Whoop,
down,
like,
right down the middle.
You
You
like,
trying to
oh, you
swing?
can't even flip
Yep,
it. It just
yep.
goes right down the middle.
I like pinball, like the pinball that I used to do. I mean, I used to play like, you know, the physical one, but there was this pinball game that was on a lot of like PCs. Like it was like a Galaxy pinball
I kind
thing.
of remember that.
Yeah,
know
that
what
was
you're
on like
talking about.
every.
Yeah,
That was like
I know
on
what you're talking
every
about.
like Windows PC.
Came with the
Right,
windows
yeah,
like solitaire.
that's
exactly,
right.
like
Yes.
solitaire and all that other stuff. And I used to play
and
that
we
joint
ain't
all the
even,
time.
yeah, that's a whole nother subject that came with the computer, the games like the Snood and stuff like
Oh,
that.
Snood. Yo, I played that joint all. I think Mom used to play that all the
Yeah,
time.
Maya thought she was the champion.
Yeah.
She was better than me. But yeah, so,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so
Yeah, we have a lot of like, you know, in terms of like early gaming, that's a lot of like, you know, sort of ours. Definitely harkening back to sort of like the arcades. But
Right.
then in terms of other gaming stuff, sort of like more future, I guess not future stuff, but sort of like more in like
Later.
the later 90s, early 2000s and stuff
PlayStation
like
and
that.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got like PlayStation, Nintendo 64,
Yep.
you know, GameCube and all that other
Xbox.
stuff, Xbox, all that, you know, all that stuff, you know, like the consoles.
Right.
And that's that's more so the era that I grew up in.
Right,
and
right.
I know you, Rob, you know, you played a lot of that kind of like
Sega
stuff.
Genesis, then you had Dreamcast, you know, games like that. But you know, I can remember like you said with the story with me playing Resident Evil. That game was scary because I had the sound system, I had the speakers on, you know, loud, and you could hear the guy coming around the corner, and he's making this like noise, like, and these guys would come in, and they would look at that screen and see that thing coming, like, oh man, you know, it's like a horror movie. Those things were
It
set
was
up.
legitimately,
It was legitimately scary. Like you could hear the breathing, everything, and that was like one of the first games that I played that really you would really feel the fear of this creature or whatever's coming behind you, and you could hear it coming behind you. It was you know, it was kind of like a new thing, and it was like once you go up to that level with gaming, you
Yeah.
can't go back.
Anytime that alligator came out, it was like,
Oh, the
"Ah!"
alligator!
Yeah.
It's like the water goes everywhere. It was all man.
But
That
no,
was
but like
fun.
in terms of like that stuff. So one of my like besides the PlayStation 1, one of my favorite consoles is actually the PlayStation 2. That's when I really sort of like developed my like love of like gaming sort of like by myself. Because there I had, you know, like games like what's it called? Like I played a lot of these games called RPGs, role-playing games, or more so JRPGs, Japanese role-playing games. You know, a lot of games that were developed in Japan and stuff like that. So games like Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, like all that is like stuff that I like love, and a lot of that stuff was sort of like on the PlayStation, right?
okay.
You know.
Well, and that's true. Well, look at how the transition of games happened. First, you're playing Atari as kids, or going to the arcade. You're playing together. You're playing together with Atari. You're playing together with some Nintendo. Then it started to become individual, single-player games. Now all these games you play by yourself, or you play online. There's
Yeah.
no more of your friends sitting next to you playing with you on a game. We used to play Street Fighter for money. We used to play Street Fighter for money, but it was a game we played together, 2 people playing
Right.
against each other. Now, it's just a one-person thing, you know? You're playing by yourself or you're playing online against people that are so remotely far away, wherever they are.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're in a room alone.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Well, talking about as far as bonding and playing games, we transitioned to this. This was our, you know what I'm saying, the classic football game. We used to play I remember our big cousin Darryl, we used to play this regularly, the football game, and we used to have tournaments. I remember
yes.
having tournaments with it, and this is, you know, we bonded over this. It was serious.
But just look at the setup
see,
of this
here you
real
go,
quick.
here you go.
Like no, simple. Because all it is just like dots. It's like no player doesn't resemble anything. It's just sort of like dots, and you would move them like this, and you would move that forward.
But the dots meant everything. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
You
The
had
dots
to have
meant
a
everything.
plan.
You have to have a plan. You
to
just
get through
can't
the line.
be, you know, to go through the line, or you know, it was serious. Or you hear
Oh,
that
you
sound?
hear that sound?
Oh, you hear that sound?
You
You
know
know
you
you was,
scored.
yeah, you know, not well, you know you was tackled.
Oh, you got tackled, right?
Yeah. This
Yeah.
was plenty of fun, plenty of good times with this.
A lot of hours with them games.
That's funny.
And bonding and
Battery,
stuff like
and
that.
it took what kind of battery? Of course, a battery that, you know, you normally don't have. One of them
9 volt.
batteries, you know.
Yeah. Nobody had the 9
Car
volt,
battery.
Nobody had 9 volt battery. You had to go find that somewhere special, you know.
Dang. But no, it's crazy how it, you know, that we came from this, and now we have stuff like this. Like with the PS5 right now, yeah, I got a PS5. Sorry for everyone that's out there that doesn't have one or can't get one. I'm a flex on that. But then you have stuff like this, like with the PS5. This controller's crazy because it vibrates specifically. Like the triggers hold back, and the triggers do different things depending on what's happening in the actual game. Games today are like insane in terms of the graphics and stuff like that, right?
We had this
Yes.
and a button. You
Yep.
understand? Hours of fun.
Yep, no problem.
A button and a knob, and we was at it. You
No
know what I mean?
problem.
This is what we had.
This is so it's great. You can't play anything. You can't play any. Well, I mean, no, that's not true. There's certain
Anything
games
that you
are
have
pretty
now, games
simple.
that you can play?
But I mean, like more, higher graphic, complicated games and all that other stuff. But it's cool though. How he sort of progressed and whatnot in terms of consoles.
Right.
I'm not really into the whole console war thing, even though I've been a PlayStation person for a lot of my life. I had an Xbox 360 because a lot of my friends did, sort of bringing it back to sort of the bonding experience. Around 2000, when I was in high school, everyone had 360s. Everyone had Xbox 360s. So I would have to get an Xbox 360 if I wanted to play with everybody, and I would play, stuff like
down.
Yeah, I wanted to be down. And everyone had Gears of War, Halo, and those are the games. Call of Duty. Those are the games that I would play, and bond with everybody.
Well, I mean, as far as bonding, family bonding, the Wii. Remember we got the Wii?
Oh,
it was hours of fun with that.
We had so much fun with that.
Oh my God, Michael Jackson.
Oh,
game.
the dancing.
Yeah,
the
that was off
bowling.
the chain. The bowling, we
Oh,
used to do
come
that
on.
regularly.
Come on, man.
That was a whole family experience.
That was great. I
Yeah,
mean,
tennis,
oh,
bowling.
yes, that was
the
a
Michael
fun.
Jackson.
They did something good when they came out with that.
Yeah.
No,
But
that
people
was-
don't- Is the Wii still around?
Yeah, what happened to it?
The Wii's kind of that now.
Yeah, but you can't. I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, that's what it evolved into. It's the Switch.
Yeah, but you can't do like that, like the.
Yeah, you
family.
can.
You can?
The remote. Yeah, like what we were doing
That's
earlier.
the screen.
Yeah, that's the screen.
No,
I mean,
no,
what?
you
what-
have to put
well,
that on the TV.
No, but see, what's fancy about that is you could take that, put it in a dock, and you can have it on the screen. That's the Switch. The Switch is essentially built so that you could take this screen, you have to put it in a place, and then you can have it on the TV.
And you move that around just
Yeah.
like you moved around the things for the Wii.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I know there's some Just Dance
I learned
games.
something today.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
You
amazing.
learn. That's what we're all about here, learning.
Even
Yeah.
but you know what? Even the arcade games they're different now. The last time I was in an arcade, they do that. You see that dance game now that they be having?
Oh, like Dance Dance Revolution.
How?
Oh, the stepping.
Yeah, the
man.
stepping. I don't understand it.
I don't get it either.
I don't get it.
I
Some
mean,
of
you
them
have-
look like they just going through a pattern, like they just
Yeah,
moving
how
their
does-
feet and holding on the bars and their feet
Right,
moving.
exactly. How do they do that? Yeah, maybe
I'm
I
like,
don't
what the
know.
heck is
People-
going on? And
cats
they're
are good at
sweating,
that. I
pouring
don't
down
know.
sweat.
Captain Old School.
I think the scary part is it's usually an adult.
Yeah, it's
on the
usually a
machine.
grown ass
Yeah,
man
it's a big, giant person on there,
dancing around.
dancing around.
Yeah, yeah.
Looking
it
crazy.
is. It's usually an adult. It usually is.
That's just,
That's
a little
funny.
frightening.
Oh my god. But but in terms, it's I love all this sort of game talk. But it's interesting, sort of in the gaming community, how we have a lot of sort of all this stuff is sort of brought out, and And there's a lot of interesting stories about the people who like make the games. Like I remember when I was younger, I actually wanted to go into video game development.
Right. Yeah.
But after hearing some of the stories that goes on with the video game industry, I'm kind of like,
Scandalous.
I'm kind of like, I'm kind of glad I ain't in there anymore. Because I mean, a lot of it, it's crazy because especially today, because we're talking, you're talking about sort of like the older school games, right? That would probably take maybe like a year to like actually like make.
Okay.
And obviously it was different back then in terms of like technology and stuff. But when you look at games now, like you could look at something like a God of War, the recent game that came out in 2018, or a Ratchet and Clank, or an Uncharted, or like a Halo now, like these kind of like high-end graphical games,
Right.
and they take years to produce. And there's just a lot of like stories about how they got to that point, because these games are essentially like movies, even bigger and better, even bigger and more graphically enhanced than movies.
Yeah.
And the people behind them trying to create those things, they go through a lot of like hardships, Like there's this thing called crunch. I mean, I'm pretty sure this term is used in a lot of other things, but as far as it relates to the video game world, crunch is this thing where a game is sort of like in an alpha stage or something like that, and it's the last few months before it has to come out, and they need to like test it out, make sure that everything's good. So video game developers, would have to stay there for like 80 hours to 100 hours a week in order to actually like finish these things.
Damn.
And it's been a big problem in the industry. Like there's been articles by this guy, Jason Schreier, he's a journalist, that talked about video game crunch with stuff like Red Dead Redemption 2, Anthem. Like these are like sort of like big AAA games, and these developers go through these like grueling hours just to finish this game.
Well, they must have not have went through that many grueling hours to finish that that Cyberpunk game. What happened with that?
That's a whole story. Mostly, I mean, just reading about sort of like the behind the scenes of what went on with that game. Cyberpunk is right here somewhere.
There was no crunch.
No, there was. No, there was.
They didn't have enough
That
crunch.
was,
No,
that was a soft crunch.
It was a
No,
soft.
no. There was an extreme amount of crunch.
It was too much
The
crunch?
issue, at least from what I was reading, was more management stuff. Because even the developers were saying, we need more time to finish this game. The issue was this game should not come out, and if it's going to come out, it should not come out for specific consoles. But they did it anyway,
for
and
every
it
console.
screwed up everything.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
No, man, I played it, but I was able to play it on the PS5, so it would run okay, but it would crash all the time.
Yeah, it's a crashing game. So basically, what happens with games that the development did not, go that well, the games crash.
Yeah.
And you pay $69, $70 for a game, and the game
That's how much
is
games cost
constantly
now?
crashing.
Yeah, they were 60 for the longest time, but now they're kind of being bumped up to like 70.
I got a question. How do they still? Because you guys, well, I don't know. You still buy them, or you still go online to get them? How is GameStop still in business? Me and Vidal were driving by GameStop.
People still
and it was
trade in
over.
things.
Yeah,
Okay.
people still trade. I mean,
I
even
thought for sure that they
GameStop
would be-
GameStop is even kind of going through a hard time
And
now.
they sell
like a flea market
action
now.
figures.
Yeah, kinda,
They
yeah.
sell
Cell phones.
old games, cell phones. They
Okay.
sell other
Refurbished.
stuff now.
Yeah,
refurbished.
Okay, so
they're
it's
into
not
like
just games.
It's
yeah,
not just games
they
now.
sell like figures and stuff
They
like
have to
that.
sell
Okay.
other stuff.
They
now.
have to
Exactly,
reinvent
exactly,
themselves.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But even they're going through
Yeah,
like
I
a
saw
lot of like,
GameStop. I'm like GameStop. That's kind of.
Yeah,
it's
GameStop
wild.
is not the same.
But we
anymore.
have, but in terms of the pricing thing, we also have things like Xbox Game Pass, right? So it's this thing where you pay a subscription, kind of like Netflix. You pay for a certain
subscription, you get a certain amount of
and you
games.
get a certain amount of games.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have systems sort of like that in place, with video games and stuff like
So
that.
where do we see gaming and games and stuff in the future?
Virtual.
Virtual, I
Augmented
think.
reality, virtual games.
Oh, okay.
I was actually talking
like
to
Tupac.
yes, like Tupac. But no, I was I was
They had
actually
Oh, a
hologram,
hologram.
yeah.
Really?
like
Oh,
hologram type stuff.
Well, honestly, I was
sure.
talking to Maya about this actually. Where graphics are getting so good now to where they can only get so good, right?
Right.
So now it has to be stuff like virtual reality. We have to do stuff like more sensory stuff.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about the PlayStation 5 controller.
Right,
More
you feel it.
exactly, more feeling on stuff, like sort of enhancing the experience of it, right? Virtual reality.
Yeah.
Different type of senses.
I mean,
maybe
I've even
Oh,
smell.
that's
seen
with the
online-
glasses and
Well, I've
stuff.
seen online where they have it's like a fully immersible, situation where you put a vest on, you have these things wrapped around your hands,
That's-
you
that's
have
too
the
much for me.
virtual thing on, and you go in, when you
Mm-hmm.
get hit or get shot, you
feel it, yeah.
It's like that thing moves inside there. If it's immersing you into this situation.
much.
That's too much. That's why we got all
too
these
much.
crazy people walking
Right,
around.
exactly.
Get on the subway and it's just
I
too much.
agree.
He's caught up in the matrix.
Let it go.
Yeah,
Let it
he
go.
in the Matrix.
Let it go.
Unplugged. You gotta unplug.
Let's go back to tic-tac-toe.
You know what I'm saying?
Jeez, too much.
Oh my God. But
Checkers.
But that's definitely, I would say, but also, like, what are you guys feeling? I mean, I guess you don't. I don't. Well, let me just put this question out for you. What do you think of video games as like art, essentially? What are your feelings on that?
As art?
Yeah.
I think there could be. I mean, when you're in Grand Theft Auto and you're driving around in a car, like you're really in a real car, listening to music, and you look in the back, you look back in the window and you can see the sun setting, and they've taken time to put all of this in the game, like to really give you
graphics are
that
crazy.
experience. And every building, everything is authentic. Like in Spider-Man, I mean, you play that game, you swinging through the Manhattan. I mean, you
looks
go
like
to
Manhattan.
Empire State Building. It is the Empire State Building. You climb to the top of it. You look around the city. You can see the water. You can see the vastness of the expanse that they've put all of this in digitally, which is pretty impressive. As far as that is, I think that's definitely a work of art.
Oh, absolutely. And I think even on, for talking about, Spider-Man and all that kind of stuff, we have like the stories that are great, like we have like The Last of Us, controversial game or whatever, but the story in that is like incredibly well told, and I think, with that, it rivals a movie. It's why they're making it into an HBO series, right?
Yeah, a lot of these games.
Yeah, a lot of these
of
games,
them,
they're
Look
finally
like movies, right?
Yeah, they're kind of like going the way of the superhero, where they're finally. I think hopefully now they're going to start to actually be good. Like superhero things were kind of like okay to like for the longest time, and that's the way with video games. And now I think hopefully we're going to start to see like really good video game adaptations. Whether or not they're
Like he was saying earlier, Resident Evil. I mean, it's a whole franchise.
That's
It's
a whole
franchise.
That's a whole
Started as
franchise.
video games.
Yep.
Started as video games, right? Playing in the arcades.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
You had also, what was the other movie? With the big guy pulls the skin off the girl, Silent Hill. That was also another.
Oh, that was it.
also
I actually
a
enjoyed the
video
Silent
game.
Hill movie.
And
Mortal Kombat that just
Mortal
came out.
Kombat.
Yeah.
Video games turned to movies.
Finish him.
We got Sonic, like I said, The Last of Us is gonna be, an HBO show. And I
there's
know
a
The Witcher's
whole-
based off of books, but that became popular
That
because of the
became a video
game.
game, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, The Witcher was a. Oh,
Well,
it became
it's a book. It's a
became
book
a
initially,
movie.
but it
was a
was
video
really
game, and
yeah,
then
it was
it
really
became a
brought up because of the
series.
video game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good series, by the
Yeah,
way.
very great series.
yeah.
So in terms of like art, and I think there's certain things in video games that you can only really tell in video games. Sort of like there's a game called Undertale. The way that it kind of like develops its story, or the way that you sort of like go about its story, can only be told through the art of video games. And there's a couple of games like that in terms of like story choices and stuff like that. Like I love these video game franchise called Mass Effect, and the choices that you make in that. Yeah, like the choices you make in that.
Is that the one with the old music?
No, that's Fallout. That's Fallout. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mass Effect is like a science fiction game that I think they're trying to adapt into that too.
Yeah, the games are fun. I mean, honestly, I like playing the games sometimes. When you're playing online, it gets a little bit annoying because you can hear people talking and these little kids. I mean, they.
Well, it's cool that you don't have to
Yelling at
be
you.
somewhere and you can play against somebody somewhere else in the world. Actually.
Yeah, but I tend to turn that function off.
Oh, for
Yeah.
real? And just play yourself?
I don't want to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I'll play online with other people, but I don't want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, I kind of.
Oh, you don't want to talk. You just want to play.
Because they
Yeah.
talking and talking to you, and you're like, "What? What do you want me to do?" Like they're yelling at you to do something, and
You just want to do your thing.
I want to play the game. I don't want to talk to you. You know what I mean? That's not something I want to do. I
Right,
didn't get in
right.
here to be
No,
yelled
yeah.
at by a 5-year-old kid. Playing the
Russia.
game.
I get
From
that.
Russia.
What's going on with this?
See,
American idiot.
You're wrong for that.
I'm
You
just
know?
saying.
Games are great.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. It's
yeah,
always some little kids yelling at me. Come on.
I wonder
come
what
on.
they're saying about you.
I mean,
that's
He don't
right.
say nothing.
Yeah.
you don't say nothing. That's
I
the
say
thing.
quiet. I don't even have a microphone.
Oh,
I
they
just
don't
hear
know.
them. Because I be taking my time in the game. We playing, it's like 4 people playing. I got things I'm looking for in there. They like, come on, let's go. I'm like,
Oh, so they don't know that they're playing against an older dude.
they don't know they're playing against old school.
Oh,
No, you never know
oh.
the ages
Nope.
of the people, right?
All they see is a
you
little,
just hear
fake
voices.
emoji of whoever I am.
Oh, gotcha.
In any case, games are great and they're fun, and and it's great that we're able to sort of like have sort of like all-encompassing experiences with games.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, since back in the day, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just like I said, starting with pinball machines.
You know.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so, good times with games. Well, in any case, why don't you guys tell us about your favorite games?
Yeah.
Favorite
Gaming
consoles,
experiences,
gaming experiences, and
how
all that
you
other
started,
stuff.
what you like.
Comment in wherever you can comment. Like the video if you're
Make sure you
watching.
subscribe.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you
Bing,
get
bing.
notified when we put out new videos. And thank you guys again for showing up and talking to us about video games. This has been Nerd Cypher.
Cypher.
Peace.